As though hours passed like days, he waited, desperately wanting a sense of the familiar and the safe with the presence of Am. It was far too long before they eventually showed up. Through his weary, beer-soaked eyes, he made out the slender frame of Am, and for an idle moment felt a sense of relief. They looked down at him with shock and worry carved into their flawless makeup. When they drew near, they made a face as though repressing the sudden urge to gag from the smell of him. "What?" they said, shaking their head in disbelief. "The fuck happened to you?" "Can I stay at your place tonight?" His voice was hoarse. "Not stinking like that, no." They scoffed in jest, trying to comprehend what was wrong with their brother. "We'll stop by your place for a change and a shower, then you can come over. Please, I don't know if I can go home." What if it was there waiting for him? He didn't want to be left alone at the mercy of this phantom. He immediately began to cry. "Percy," they said in a soothing tone, delicately placing a gentle arm across his back. "What happened to you?" For the life of me, don't know what to tell you." His chin dropped to his chest as tears streamed down his face. "Was it the child?" They had no idea how right they were. "Did something happen?" "I think I've lost my mind, Am." Every word was a struggle for him. No. They brushed tears off his cheeks. "It may be time for a vacation, sweetie." "I can't even process it," he said, not hinting at what it might actually be. "No matter how many times I replay it in my head, it's like a nightmare." "What happened?" Am gingerly took their brother's chin and turned his gaze to meet theirs. Percy did everything in his power to try and make sense of what he just wanted to tell Am. Nothing came. "I don't even believe it myself." "Believe what?" They were getting annoyed with the guessing game. Their brother looked like a damn lunatic. Body covered in sweat and stains, smelling of BO and piss. For all Am knew, Percy had lost his mind. All manner of worry played across their head. Should they seek help? He only asked for a place to stay, but from the looks of him, he needed direct professional intervention. Am shook off the thought. Family meant more to them and Percy than anything, especially now that Mom was gone. The two of them had forged a special bond, and they saw they needed him more than ever. Needed that bond more than ever. "Percy, look at me." Their eyes met again. Am was deadly serious. "What happened?" "There was a voice," was all he could get out. Percy's mind pushed back for a singular moment, regardless of how real it all felt. It all seemed so silly. Like he saw his reflection in his sibling's eyes and knew how ridiculous he looked. But that wasn't enough, because it was so real. However, the presence of Am gave him some resolve, gave him the strength he needed to reclaim his wits. He needed to know what happened in his office, not just worry or imagine, but know. On that digital recorder, back in his office, would be that voice or no voice at all, and he needed to hear it to be sure. Whatever it was, real or no, he needed to hear it. "Am, I need you to take me back to my office," he asked hesitantly. "Oh, Lord," they scoffed. "Yeah, I can do that. Let's just put something down on my seat so you don't stain my car." Carefully, they lifted their brother up off the bar stool, paid his tab, then guided him out to the parking lot where their sleek black sedan sat. The office was just a 2-story corporate plaza with fake brick siding. After hours, it was locked up tight, dark, cold, and drab as a crypt. Percy's mind begged him to run for his life. There was no light coming from the many windows, the secretary having locked up as she was supposed to, and the interior now seemed quite black from the outside. It was wholly different from the bright and sunny pastel stage that he performed upon. Now it very much resembled the inner despair that it was always filled with, like the office had taken on a life of its own since the voice. When he reached when he reached the waiting room, the presence of the internal despair was overpowering. For hours, Mr. and Mrs. Elders tried to contact him. He felt like an absolute coward and failure. If there was no voice, then he ran from a child in need, betrayed everything he promised her, her parents, his oath. If there was a voice, well, his mind just couldn't process it. Either way, he was a coward, and the dark office made him feel tiny and weak. Am saw Percy staggering on his feet and lent him some support. When he finally built up the strength to enter the waiting room, they turned on the lights for him and they stayed close at his back. The way he was acting, they expected some hostile intruder to burst forth from the office door, now closed across from them. Hesitantly, he staggered forward, crossing the lobby, took all of his strength in a minute. When he finally reached the door, his hands trembled. He looked down at the doorknob, his eyes focused in and out, still awash with alcohol. Beyond his shaking hands on the floor, ahead of his gaze, was the dark stain where he'd slid to the ground and soaked through his pants. He reached for the handle. The static between him and the door was electric. Woogie, woogie, woogie. His hands shook so violently that the doorknob rattled. He breathed deeply, in and out, body heaving as though choking. Hands still trembling as he turned the knob. Am placed their hands on his back for comfort, unsure what to think or even say, knowing this was a tense moment for their brother. When the lock turned and popped, Percy gasped. The door opened with a creak that sent icy cold shivers up his spine. His legs all at once wanted to give out, and he fought to stop himself from urinating himself again. A warm breath of air exited the dark office with the creaking of the door, and for a split second, Percy heard the words in the creak. When he was comforted by silence, he wondered if the creaking of doors would forever haunt his mind. He hit the lights and felt for a sense of relief once the interior was brightly illuminated. The space between the door and the office still felt like an impenetrable wall for the moment, and he stayed to catch his breath. Beyond what was left over of his calamitous exit, overturned chairs, a small toy stomped flat, a shelf of books and puzzles knocked over, books and puzzle pieces everywhere. Finally, he collected himself and stepped in, looked around. Looking around presented nothing. Why was that so hard? More than the rest of his office, as of yet untouched. At the other end sat his pastel blue desk. Upon it, hidden in a fake book, was a digital recorder. There was a pause. Then, with all of his focus, he rushed to the book and opened it. Am followed through and watched curiously. A secret recorder? Is that ethical? The parents or guardian always know the sessions are being recorded. His voice was still hoarse and weak. They actually find a sense of comfort in it. So many of these children were taken advantage of so many times. They like knowing that I'm being monitored as well. Accountability is everything to a parent when you just left a spouse for... They almost never want to hear the recordings, but just want to know that they're there. Lord knows no one ever wants to hear them. All he had to do was press play, and he could put this whole silly thing behind him. Then he would focus on apologizing to the elders,